It was supposed to be a perfect night, a chance to surprise my wife with a kid-free evening, something we rarely get to enjoy. I had it all planned out. A nice dinner reservation, a few drinks at some of our favorite spots, and time just for us. With the kids staying at my parents' house, I figured it would be a night to reconnect, to enjoy each other's company without the constant responsibilities of parenthood weighing us down. I dropped the kids off at my parents' house, about an hour and a half away. Usually when I visit them, we spend the whole day together, and I don't come back until much later in the evening. But this time, I had a plan. I was going to drop the kids off and head straight back home, hoping to surprise my wife and whisk her away for our evening together. I was excited as I left my parents' house around 8:30 a.m., heading back, anticipating a night full of surprises and laughter. By 12:30 p.m., I was pulling onto our street, a little earlier than expected, which I thought was perfect. But something caught my eye. There was a truck parked in front of our house. I didn't recognize it. At first, I shrugged it off, assuming it belonged to one of the neighbor's guests. After all, it wasn't uncommon for people to park along the street. I didn't think much of it at that moment. I decided to sneak into the house instead of going through the garage like I usually would. I parked a few houses away, figuring I'd surprise my wife by quietly slipping inside and catching her off guard with the plan. I entered through the basement door, making sure to be as quiet as possible. But as soon as I stepped inside, I heard noises coming from upstairs. At first, I didn't think much of it. Maybe she was just relaxing, taking some personal time before the evening I had planned. I even considered leaving the house again and making a loud entrance so she wouldn't be startled. But then, something happened that changed everything. I heard a man's voice. The moment I heard that voice, it was like my entire world came crashing down around me. My chest tightened, my hands went cold, and my heart started racing. That was not a voice I recognized. In that split second, I knew what was happening. The feeling of sickness crept over me as if I had just been punched in the gut. It's hard to describe exactly what I felt at that moment. Betrayal, disbelief, rage, sadness, it all hit me at once. I didn't want to believe what I knew deep down was true. I could have left. I could have walked away, pretended I didn't know, and spared myself the pain. But I couldn't. Something inside me forced me to move forward. I had to see it for myself, no matter how much it would hurt. Quietly, I made my way upstairs. The door to the kitchen was halfway open, and I could hear everything happening in the living room. I didn't want to confront them. I just needed to see it for myself. I couldn't bring myself to walk into the living room, so I did the only thing I could think of. I pulled out my phone, turned on the camera, and carefully positioned it around the corner. I could see everything. There she was, my wife, with a man I had never seen before, doing something I never thought I would witness. I started recording, not because I wanted to, but because I felt like I had to. It felt like proof. Proof of my world falling apart, proof of her betrayal, proof of everything I needed to face. As I stood there, watching it all unfold on the small screen of my phone, I was paralyzed. Every muscle in my body screamed for me to do something, anything, but I couldn't. I couldn't move, I couldn't speak, I just watched. They were completely unaware of my presence. My hands shook, my breath caught in my throat, and my legs felt like they were about to give out. Yet I remained there, frozen. After several agonizing minutes, she got up and made some offhand comment about going to the bedroom. She even mentioned how much time they had left. I could feel the bile rising in my throat as they moved upstairs. Once they were gone, I stood in the kitchen, still processing what I had just witnessed. But it didn't end there. I saw his pants lying on the floor, so I went over and rummaged through the pockets. I found his wallet and took pictures of his driver's license, noting his name and address. I had no idea who this man was or how my wife knew him, but now I had his information. Somehow, it felt like I had gained a small sense of control in a situation where I felt completely powerless. I left the house the same way I came in, silently, quickly, and without confrontation. I got back to my car, sat in the driver's seat, and broke down. Tears streamed down my face as I sobbed like I hadn't in years. I was overwhelmed with shame, anger, and a deep sense of loss. After crying for what felt like an eternity, I pulled myself together enough to check the video on my phone. I had to make sure it was there, that I hadn't imagined everything. It was real. I sat in my car for what must have been at least half an hour, watching the video. I don't know why I did it, but I couldn't stop. Every time I hit play, I felt that same sickness wash over me. But for some reason, I couldn't look away. I couldn't go back to my parents to get the kids without explaining why I was back so soon. I wasn't ready for that. So I did the only thing I could think of. I drove into the driveway, opened the garage, and pretended like I was still going through with my plan. I made sure to make a lot of noise as I entered the house, giving her plenty of time to cover her tracks. She greeted me in a flustered state, wearing a robe, claiming she was just getting ready for a bath. I didn't say much, just told her about the plans I had made for our evening. To my surprise, she seemed genuinely excited, like nothing was out of the ordinary. She poured us both a glass of wine, talking about pre-gaming before getting ready for the night. I barely said a word. As we sat in the living room, I could faintly see the man sneaking downstairs and heading out through the basement door. I didn't stop him. I didn't confront her. I just sat there, numb, while she acted like everything was fine. Since that day, I can't stop watching the video. Every time I feel the weight of what happened, I find myself hitting play again. I've watched it over and over, at least 10 times a day, reliving the worst moment of my life. I know I need to do something. Talk to her, confront her, make a decision, but I can't bring myself to move forward. She's noticed something is wrong, asking me if I'm okay, but I can't bring myself to tell her the truth. I feel worthless, like my entire identity has been shattered. And every time I feel that way, I find myself watching that video again, trapped in an endless loop of pain and betrayal.
If you haven't told her yet, I suggest you talk to a lawyer first and prepare the divorce.
I'm so sorry this happened to you. That was very traumatic. You should get checked for any infections. Make sure to do a complete test for everything.
Your comment, like the pathetic man I am, made me so very sad for you. You have every right to be upset, to be hurt, and to cry. I am so sorry this happened to you.